Hey, so I wanted to do kind of a follow-up video to yesterday's video, just to kind of clarify some things. Um, and this has happened, like the reason why I was making that video yesterday was in response to a number of different things. So, it's not necessarily any particular person or just one thing or one comment. Um, so I just wanted to clarify that because it's kind of bleeding into different things, and I'll explain what I'm talking about. Um, so if you have gone through something and you're trying to empathize with other people, um, just kind of a little uh, tidbit. Um, when you're there's empathizing, like, oh, I've been through that too, and that's really hard. That's like actual empathizing. And then there's like this like false empathizing that's like, oh yeah, I've been through that too, but it's like not a big deal, and I like I'm fine, and we're fine, and you're fine, and you'll be fine, and just this minimizing of other people's suffering. And that's really not actual empathy, and it's actually can be more harmful than it is helpful. So I wanted to give some examples and just kind of expound on that a little bit to kind of give us some clarification so that we're being kind to each other. Even like we can have the best of intentions, but if it's coming across in a way that's not actually helpful or kind to other people, then we'd want to know. At least I would want to know. Um, so, for example, um, my dad passed away from cancer. It's been almost 2 years now. Um, but when he was like they were talking about treatments, and he was 76 and didn't really want to mess with treatments, and he was miserable, and he was like way far gone. Like his body was already shutting down, and there were other people in our lives who had had cancer who were just not sensitive at all to what he was feeling, and we're like, oh well, I've had cancer, and I took this treatment, and I was fine, and I was able to get through it, and if I can do it, then you can do it, and just suck it up and whatever. And it was very repulsive to me. Like, I it just was hurtful of like, this is his journey and these are his decisions, and if he doesn't want to do chemo, or he doesn't want to whatever, then like, you like, that's great. If you wanted to do those treatments and you made your own decisions, that's personal to you, and that's just not how you empathize with people. I did it, and so you can do it too, so suck it up. Like, that is not empathizing. Okay. Example two. I was talking with a friend, and we were talking about the Black Lives Matter stuff, and she had a kind of a unique situation, I feel like, in that she grew up, as being the minority as a white person, and was kind of mistreated as a white person, like, because she was white, which is kind of, I feel like, is more the exception than the norm. Usually it's the other way around, right? So, she kind of had this bitter spirit. I was just sensing, as she was talking to me, the way that she was talking was very like, well, I, this and this and this, and this happened to me, and this happened to me, and I've had it rough, and so people just need to like suck it up. That's the common like phrase of the attitude that I hear. Um, and so, and then we got on this thing about white privilege, and she was like, white privilege, that's not a thing, and I'm white, and I've had it hard, and so, just, this is kind of a side note, but it relates. Um, when people talk about white privilege, they're not saying, because you're white, your life has been totally like burden free, and you've had this, like, you're automatically wealthy and you're automatically have no troubles. Like, that's not what white privilege is. Okay, what white privilege is, it means that the hardships that you have faced are not because of the color of your skin. Okay, so I was talking to my friend about this, and actually with her, because like she had a unique situation and hers actually were because of the color of her skin. um and so I kind of challenged her and said, like, hey, like, you are telling me that you are able to empathize with people who have been treated poorly because of the color of their skin. Um, but I'm not hearing actual compassion. I'm hearing, suck it up, I've been through it, and you can be like, you can get through it too, because I went through it and it's fine, and that's life. And whereas I would hope that when you go through something hard, that the Lord kind of softens our hearts towards other people. And so that would make her able to empathize all the more with people, rather than this, well, I've been through it and you can get through it too mentality of, I've been through it and it sucked and it was hard, and so I'm really sorry that you've had to go through that. And let's talk about it and tell me what your experience is, and your experience is valid. And honestly, like, when I told this friend, your experience is valid, she started to get emotional, because everyone just wrote off her experience, and because her experience was not like the typical white experience. um and but it just showed, like, actual empathy is when we actually feel bad for people's situations. And so this thing I went on yesterday about COVID, I was kind of trying to gently get on people about, like, not being flippant about talking about the death rate, and talking about, um, like, well, my family had it and we're all fine, and assuming that that's how everyone's situation is. Um, and so, in thinking about, like, one of the comments was like, well, the COVID death rate, it's still like this, the number of COVID deaths is still like less than half of what cancer is. Okay, but it's also like there's more people that have died this year from COVID than car accidents. Like, it's third leading cause of death. And so it's like heart disease, cancer, COVID, and then like under that is like car accidents, and I forget, there were a few others, and then suicide was kind of down the totem pole, like the eighth maybe. Um, but like, you would never tell somebody who had lost someone to suicide, like, oh yeah, I lost somebody to suicide too, and like it sucked, and but we're like fine, we're fine. It's like not a big deal, because yes, it is a big deal. And just because like suicide is like the eighth leading cause of death doesn't mean it's not a big deal. So the point of this whole thing was to try to explain, if you've been through something hard, use that for good. Don't use that to put people down and to minimize other people's experiences. And for those of you who are completely heartfelt and well-meaning, you will take this to heart, and think, and just think about how you say and how it might be perceived, and be willing to consider things instead of just automatically assuming, well, I don't do that, and I don't, like, um, just being willing to think about it. And just, it's kind of like when you say, like, if I say, like, hey, that's kind of insensitive to just minimize the death rate like that, and you say, well, I've had a ton of people die in my family. Like, this person has died, and this person has died, and this person has died. Like, okay, like, that's really sad. And so that's not like your authority on suffering. That's like, that doesn't give you authority to minimize other people's feelings. So, like, that's sad, and therefore you can empathize with other people and you wouldn't want to hurt people's feelings. Um, so it's kind of like when people say like, I'm not racist, I have black friends. Like, just like having black friends doesn't mean you're not racist, like any more than having people who in your life who've died of COVID means that you can just be insensitive to other people who are suffering and dying. um, so that's kind of what I'm getting at. So I hope that makes sense. And I really don't want to hurt people's feelings. And that's kind of the irony of I've had that happen a lot in my life, and it's such a hard dynamic of when I say the words "you're hurting my feelings" and someone comes back with, "Well, that hurts my feelings. That hurts my feelings that you're saying that I'm hurting your feelings," and I'm kind of like, no, that's just how like they are what they are. Like, so I don't even know what to do with that one. If you guys have any advice on that one and how to handle it, um, I feel like your feelings are your own, and so it's not unkind to say that hurts my feelings. If anything, that's a kind thing to say, so people who love you can not do things that hurt your feelings. And if they don't care about your feelings, then that's a sign that you need to get away from this relationship because it's not healthy. Because people should care about your feelings. Um, so I hope that made sense. Anyway, if you have questions, holler at me. I hope that was helpful. All right. Have a good day. Bye.